everyone, and a very good morning or afternoon depending on where you're joining us from today. Thank you very much for coming along to this webinar to introduce the Teaching and Assessment for Nursing and Allied Health Educators program. We should be taking about 45 minutes of your time today, including an opportunity for a designated question and answer session at the end. So now I'd like to just do a couple of introductions. So that's me, Sarah Vaughan, on the right-hand side. I'm the events manager for Epigeum. We're the organization that puts together the online courses. A large part of my role is looking after our events, product launches, and online webinars such as this. I'll let Tessa in the middle introduce herself now, followed by Dr. Laura Dzurec.
Hello, yes, I'm Tessa and I'm an Associate Commissioning Editor at Epigeum. Until recently I was a project editor and I spent most of last year working on the Tannehay programme.
I guess it's down to me, isn't it? This is Laura. Welcome everybody, and for those of you who are my friends here, welcome especially. It's really been lovely to work with Tessa and Sarah and other staff from Epigeum, now part of Oxford, although I'll leave that to Tessa and Sarah to explain to you more fully. This is really an exciting program, and we hope you'll learn a lot today about the program and about what it's intended to do.
So just a quick look at the agenda before we get started. First we'll look at Epigeum. So we're the organization that puts together the programs through a collaborative model, which is quite unique, and so I'll show you a short video that explains how this approach works. Then we'll move on to Dr. Dzourec's presentation, and she'll tell you a little bit about her vision for the program in her role as lead advisor. Tessa will then show you a brief demonstration of the program to give you an idea of how the courses look and feel. We will then wrap up with a question and answer session. As I mentioned in the beginning, please do feel free to type up your questions as and when they occur to you, and we will address them as the webinar progresses. So a little bit about Epigeum. We were founded in 2005 as a spin-out originally from Imperial College London. Our two founders created the company in response to what they felt was a lack of timely support for researchers. So one of our founders was doing a PhD at the time while working, and he came across issues that he wanted and needed to be advised on. And it would either be that there would be a face-to-face course in 3 months' time that was being offered, or that there was inadequate, dated, or boring material online. Didn't quite fit what he needed. So he saw this as an opportunity to work with universities to create supported materials for researchers, particularly PhD students and postdocs like himself, that gave just-in-time support for all those issues. And that's where we started, in this sort of research arena within higher education. And in the 10 years since, we have expanded to studying programs, courses for students, and teaching and leadership programs, programs for staff, of which this is one of. We were acquired by Oxford University Press in May last year. Oxford University Press are actually a division of Oxford University, so we're still within the not-for-profit organisation in a higher education context, and still very much focused on creating high-quality materials. To date, in the decade since we have been formed, we have created over 92 online courses across 19 different programs, and we have currently 7 in development. We're an increasingly globally focused organization and have worked with over 260 universities across 29 different countries worldwide to date. We have also worked with many across North America as well, and this is just a map to show you what countries we have been involved with in the development of our courses. Now I'd like to show you a very brief video which will explain our development process to you in a bit more detail.
The story of an Epigeum course. We come up with an idea and we consult widely to develop and fine-tune it. We commission a team of expert authors to write it and a team of expert reviewers to help them. We commission a lead advisor who gives strategic vision and leadership. And we bring together a team of universities who form a development group to give feedback on our plans and prototypes and to make sure the product meets their needs. The collaborations we build are drawn from across the world and often involve input from over 50 academics, as well as our team of in-house specialists. Because we believe that collaboration and iteration are the key to producing truly innovative and effective products. So we bring everyone together for a launch workshop at the start of each project. It's a great mixing pot where the creative juices can flow and expertise can be shared. We provide a week-long training course for our writing team to make sure they're able to get the best out of the online medium. And we provide plenty of opportunities for sampling and feedback along the way through a detailed peer review process. In fact, a typical product goes through at least 5 iterations before it's ready to be built by our in-house developers. Together, we're more than the sum of our parts, and our unique and rigorous product development process gives all collaborators access to groundbreaking courses they couldn't have created alone. Here's what some of our customers have to say. Our products are used by over 200 institutions in 25 different countries. To find out more about the collaborations we're currently building, click on the Next Steps button or get in touch with us direct. We'd love to work with you.
Okay, so just to summarize the content of the video you have just seen, here are a couple of bullet points. So the development group of universities come together and share their experience at a workshop to help us create a really great online course. We recruit authors all under the guidance of a lead advisor. In the case of this program we are discussing today, that would be Dr. Laura Dzurec. The lead advisor is the person who has the expertise in the area who can lead and shape the vision for the program. And Laura will tell you a little bit more about this in detail. We have a meticulous review process in place, which allows the development group to look at the content of the courses, check that it matches their expectations, and comment on it as well. Thus, the development group of universities are the early adopters who get to use the program and implement them at their universities. And then we make it available to other universities on a license basis, which is what we are now able to do with a completed program for teaching and assessment for nurses and allied health educators. So this is just a quick slide to tell you a little bit about implementation options. You can use the courses at your respective institutions as a standalone online course. You can have them as tutor-supported online courses or part of a blended learning program. We have in-house specialists who can give you advice on how best to implement these programs at your institutions. You could always email them at implementation@epigeum.com if you have any questions. Now I'll hand over to Dr. Laura Dzurec, and she will speak a little bit about her vision for the program. Over to you, Laura.
Thank you, Sarah. When we began this program, one thought that crossed our mind actively was the way curriculum tends to drift often, especially in big programs when faculty are headed in one direction and clinical adjuncts are headed in another. And that really was our motivation for involving ourselves in this wonderful opportunity and engaging in its development. Our goal ultimately was to foster responsible and informed clinical teaching and learning that was available in a cohesive way. In other words, we want the clinical faculty to follow the same sort of path that the classroom faculty are following so that students get a consistent message in their clinical experiences and in their classroom experiences. We know that isn't always possible. Sometimes the patients who are available don't exactly fit the content. But if the faculty are well informed and the clinical faculty are well informed and are talking together, we think we can advance this even further. Our vision for the program is, as I mentioned, to avoid curriculum drift, to strengthen this communication. And another significant piece, I think, of this program is what it offers to new adjuncts to strengthen their teaching skills and to help them learn to navigate the clinical and classroom setting effectively. Ultimately, then, that facilitates student learning. In fact, I had an idea the other day that I'll share, a little off topic, but significant all the same. I happen to be taking an interesting undergraduate course for my own certification. And it occurred to me that in nursing we ask students to integrate information. And what we've done up to the point that they enter the nursing coursework is to give them points of data without a context. I think if we want students to think critically and actively, we need to help them develop a context within which to do that. And I believe that that is what this program provides for faculty, so that then they can build from their own better established context opportunities for students. And if you are wondering exactly what I'm talking about, don't hesitate to ask as we move along through our discussion here. My role has been, yes, to be the visionary. It's my right brain operating. We took a risk as a group. There were a number of faculty who were involved with us, and not only did the nursing and allied health folks work together, we worked closely with the medical group who were developing the medical side of this. There's our side and the medical side. So the information parallels medical and then nursing and allied health. And I think in many ways the development of both areas simultaneously in the U.S. and in the UK really has helped us to develop a basis on which to share ideas with each other and talk together. As I mentioned, there are two, I guess I didn't mention this yet, there are two courses, the Clinical Teaching and Learning course, which talks about empowerment, confidence, how to design your teaching and learning, how to observe, and how to evaluate. And then there is a second course in our section, the Clinical Assessment, Evaluation, and Feedback course. This is the section of the program that helps instructors, clinical instructors in particular, learn how to involve patients as they collect data about their students, and then to enhance student learning and to inspire students by accurate assessment, effective feedback, and encourage, I guess I would add. At least in my experience, many times clinical faculty in particular, those folks who aren't regular full-time faculty, are overwhelmed by the challenges of evaluating students. They may not understand that their evaluations have to be performance-based, not personality-based. They may not understand that they need to be at a level above the students. They may not understand that they can't be students' friends. This course really helps faculty to understand that while they can be kind and supportive, they also need to take an objective stance with regard to their students, and gives them the skills to really do effective clinical assessment, evaluation, and feedback for students, and actually for the clinical staff in the hospitals or other clinical agencies. I think all of us can use this program to help orient clinical faculty, and that's how we've begun to use it here. We have about 40 hours of material here, which can be sliced and diced in any ways that you would want to use it. A few at a time, a few points at a time, only certain sections, whatever you'd like to do, you can do that with this program because of the way it's set up. So it does provide an excellent basis for orientation. It provides a basis for discussion and debate about relevant clinical issues. As I noted, it provides an opportunity to strengthen clinical teaching, evaluate specific interventions, and develop new ideas. It really is a very informative and generic sort of opportunity for faculty to work together. Now we're going to have a demonstration.
Thank you, Laura. I'm going to hand over to Tessa now for her to conduct the demonstration.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you, Laura. I'd like to give you an idea of some of the core pedagogical features in the Tanahay program. So to explore these features, let's start by looking at the first course in the program, Clinical Teaching and Learning. Now this first screen, which appears at the beginning of both programs, is the welcome page, and it provides standard core information on the authors, learning outcomes, course structure, and course highlights. Moving to the first screen in the course, Clinical Teaching, the Educator. I'll start by looking at the top. Now at the top of every screen you have a learning outcome which indicates what is going to be covered in the screen and what participants should have learned or should be able to do after completing the screen. We also offer an estimated duration, here 9 minutes, so that participants have an idea of how long it is likely to take to work through the screen. These estimates include time to watch videos and to complete activities in the central section, which is this part. Screens, of course, vary in length throughout the program. On the right-hand side of each screen, you will see these little clickable boxes, which we like to call pods. These boxes contain extra information about the main screen content, as well as activities, documents to download, definitions of key terms, and links to further reading. So here we have the key terms pod, and followed by a succession of others, including a Did You Know pod, which complements the material to the left of it on screen, and a useful resources pod. The resources in these particular pods might be web links, articles, various works, and various books that might be useful for the participant to explore further. And they are all collated in a resource bank which appears at the end of each course. Another important pod to point out here is the Your Context pod. So these pods encourage participants to find out more about their own context, for example, the expectations or guidelines at their own institution, or the support available within their own department. They are customizable, which means that institutions can insert their own information, and for this reason we keep the default text fairly generic. In this pod, you might want to insert links to your own nursing school website or handbook. You will notice that many of the screens also have icons on the right-hand side. These symbols indicate the 4 ongoing themes which are explained in the introduction screen of each course. So here we have a standard icon. This highlights the relevance of rules and regulations, again complementing the material on screen. Further up, we have a support icon. This appears wherever the screen content refers to providing support and assistance to learners of all levels and with various learning needs. Moving on to explain some of the core content in the middle of the screen. One major feature of the course is the high-quality video footage. This either comes in the form of interviews or film scenarios. Providing interesting anecdotes and useful advice, the face-to-face interviews with practitioners and students prompt participants to think about their own teaching and learning experiences, to question their own methods and to realise that they are not alone, that their peers experience the same concerns. If I play this video here, you'll see a nursing student from Quinnipiac University who discusses what makes an effective teacher.
Straightforward, professional, and empathetic. We had one professor who was just incredible because what she expected of you was very clear. Her presentation of the material was very clear. You knew exactly what you needed to know.
All videos and audio clips have transcripts underneath for accessibility purposes. It is worth pointing out that every interactive screen does have an accessible counterpart here on the left-hand side at the top, which contains flat text. So these printable versions are compatible with screen readers and useful for those who are unable to use the interactive version for any reason. Okay, moving to another screen. This screen is on Preparation for Teaching and Learning, the setting. Activities in the programme fall into 2 categories. 1 presentational, 2 interactive. Presentational activities are used to present key subject matter in an engaging and attractive way, rather than simply as flat text. Taking this screen as an example, the first activity here is a ladder steps activity, which illustrates the preparation necessary for clinical rotations. For the idea, it presents the material in easy digestible chunks. Further down on the same screen, there's an example of a labelled graphic activity, which helps participants to identify the locations, people and equipment that learners should be oriented to prior to the first rotation day. Interactive activities, on the other hand, require the participant not just to learn something, but to do something, whether this be entering text in response to a question, matching items or putting items in order, and so on. So I'll take an example from a screen further down in the course, Preparation for Teaching and Learning, the Learner. I'll show you this Blackboard activity, which is an example of a drag and drop. It asks participants to assess whether certain topics would be appropriate for a post-conference agenda. If we agree, the answer will stick. So the answers will be listed here, and participants drag the ideas onto the Blackboard. Another example can be found in the chapter summary. This is an example of a paint activity which asks participants to reflect on their levels of confidence in certain teaching domains, thus encouraging self-reflections and self-assessment. Again, at the end of each chapter, having such an activity in a summary really helps to consolidate information and to encourage the learners to question what they have learned and what they need to work harder at or return to. We hope that by presenting course content in different ways, we can help to keep the material fresh and, most importantly, fun. Staying on this screen, you'll notice a pod called a Portfolio Activity Pod. Now, assessment across the programme comes in various guises. This is one form. In the Portfolio Activity Pods, we provide downloadable documents, downloadable Word documents, which provide users with further opportunities to develop their learning by doing extra tasks. Within the attached document, there are instructions, an estimated duration, and a space to take notes and record information. Incidentally, there is also an option to download all of the portfolio activities in one collective document. This long portfolio is downloadable from the introduction screen in both courses. And it is up to the participant to decide whether they wish to download everything at the beginning or to simply download as and when it suits them. Finally, at the end of each course, there is a practice scenario, giving the participants the chance to consolidate their new skills and knowledge by completing an interactive series of questions based on a clinical teaching scenario, or scenarios plural, as in this course. Here, there are 3 brief scenarios about a group of senior students. Participants are required to complete a classification activity, a close activity, so filling in the missing gaps, and a note-making activity. As you can see here, we provide substantial feedback to round the activity off. Following the course summary, participants are provided with a list of resources and references before taking the course quiz. So you can see on the left-hand navigation panel that the summary, resource bank and references are listed here. Then we have the course quiz. These are multiple choice quizzes, and they are the default assessment mode, testing both completion of the course and understanding. The quizzes are provided in a format that will allow institutions to add and remove questions after the courses have been installed in their BLE or LMS. So I hope I've given you a good taste of the programme content and some of the features. If you have any questions, please do note them down now, or feel free to contact Epigeum after the webinar. And I'll pass back to Sarah now.
Thank you, Tessa. So if you have any questions, please do write them out now in the question panel on the right-hand side, and we're happy to take those for either us to Epigeum about the process, about the development group process and how we do our courses. If you have some questions for Laura, please do type them up now and we can start fielding them to her. Laura, I have a question for you already. It's how might the Tanahay program enhance communication regarding teaching expectations among clinical faculty, clinical agencies, and full-time regular course faculty?
That is an excellent question. Thank you, whoever put that forward for us. I think because this program, in its 2 sections, the teaching and then the assessment section, lays out some groundwork. It really provides a place for the clinical faculty or those who want to have using it. It provides a place for them to stand so they can begin to say, well, what if? What if we have a snow day? It really provides a place to say your responsibilities are to communicate with the clinical staff, with your students, to let everybody know what's happening. What are the expectations with regard to managing medications? When do the students take over for a given faculty person? So it provides an avenue to open questions that you might not open if you hadn't thought about these issues up front. The black and white things, of course, I think most of us handle. What are the requirements for clinical faculty, for preceptors? What are the requirements for students to progress? But it's often those very subjective sorts of issues that that this program addresses that don't get handled right up front. So I think the short story is this program provides an opportunity to deal with those very subjective sorts of issues. And actually, I think a very compelling and interesting way.
Thank you, Laura. I have one more question for you. Have you experienced curriculum drift as you engage adjunct or clinical faculty in students' agency-based learning opportunities?
Oh, absolutely. I think curriculum drift is an issue that comes up in faculty meetings at least twice a year. So the point is this. In our course, we're trying to do X, and somehow the clinical faculty never seem to get around to X in their work with students. So again, by laying the groundwork that encourages clinical faculty to understand well what they're doing and to communicate with the regular course faculty, I think it's much easier to stay on the same plane, to work together more effectively. So I hope that addresses your question. If not, jot some more down and we'll go from there.
Thank you, Laura. I think that's it for questions. If you do think of anything else that you'd like to ask us or to Laura, please feel free to email us at info@epigeum.com. We can also tell you a little bit more about the program in detail in terms of pricing, etc. We can also give you a free trial as well. So please do get in touch. You can also go to our website. It's epigeum.com/next steps. Thank you very much for joining this webinar today. Thank you to Laura for taking the time out of her busy schedule to speak on this webinar as well. And thank you to Tessa for a very thorough demonstration. I hope you all have a nice rest of the day, and thank you very much for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.